Hi readers, Chris here. Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 most anticipated book releases for next month, April 2022. I know I say this every month, but I'm going to say it again. I think that this is the hardest month ever that I had to narrow it down to just 10 books. So many good books coming out next month. I only picked 10. I thought about including up to 15 at one point, but I narrowed it down to 10. And of course, these are not all the books being released in April, just the ones that I am most interested in. They are not in any sort of order other than by publication date. So let's jump in with number 1, and that is going to be This Rebel Heart by Catherine Luck. I believe that this is a new author in her debut novel, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to read you what it says about this book on Amazon, and you can let me know how interesting this one sounds. So this book is described as the Fountains of Silence meets Spinning Silver in this rollicking tale set amid the 1956 Hungarian Revolution post-World War II, communist Budapest. Wow, like what an interesting time frame for this book to be set in. In the middle of Budapest, there is a river. Cecilia knows that this river is magic. During World War II, the river kept her family safe when they needed it most, safe from the Holocaust. But that was before the communists seized power, before her parents were murdered by the Soviet police, before Cecilia knew things about her father's legacy that she wished she could forget. Now, Cecilia keeps her head down, planning her escape from this country that has never loved her the way that she loves it. But her carefully laid plans fall to pieces when her parents are unexpectedly publicly exonerated. As the protests in other countries spark talk of a larger revolution in Hungary, Cecilia must decide if she believes in the promise and magic of her deeply flawed country enough to risk her life to help save it, or if she should burn it to the ground. With queer representation, fabulous elements, and a pivotal but little well-known historical moment, This Rebel Heart is Catherine Luck's tour de force. Wow, obviously there's a lot going on in this book. There is magic, there's mystery, there's history, I don't know if there's romance, but maybe there might be. This sounds like such a cool story, and the fact that it's taking place in like A, a unique time period, and B, a unique place in the world that I personally don't really know a ton about, that is why this book ended up on this list, as opposed to some of the other ones that could have been. So if you were interested in This Rebel Heart, it'll be available on April 5th. My second pick for April is going to be Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. First of all, the cover of this book looks absolutely awesome. So, Hotel Magnifique says, all her life, Janie has dreamed of elsewhere. Just barely scraping by with her job at the tannery, she's redesigned her dreary life into the port town of Dirk, caring for her younger sister, Zosa. That is, until Hotel Magnifique comes to town. The hotel is legendary, not only for its whimsical enchantments, but also for its ability to travel, appearing in a different destination every morning. While Janie and Zosa can't afford the exorbitant costs of a guest stay, they can interview to join the staff and are soon whisked away on the greatest adventure of their lives. But once inside, Janie quickly discovers their contracts are unbreakable and that beneath the marvelous glamour, the hotel is hiding dangerous secrets. With the vexingly handsome doorman Belle as her only ally, Janie embarks on a mission to unravel the mystery of the magic at the heart of the hotel and free Zoisa and the other staff from the cruelty of the ruthless Maître D'. To succeed, she'll have to risk everything she loves, but failure would mean a fate worse than never returning home. Again, obviously, there's a lot going on in this story. Very magical, very whimsical. I actually have worked in the hospitality for the past almost 20 years of my life. So a magical hotel absolutely, to me, is like the coolest thing that someone could possibly come up with. But that's because I'm a total nerd. So if you are a total nerd like me, Hotel Magnifique will be available on April 5th. My third pick for April is going to be In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power. If you recognize this author's name, she also wrote the popular Wilder Girls. But this book sounds completely different from that one, and allegedly it's one of the most anticipated books of 2022 according to BookPage. I don't know what BookPage is, but that's what it says on Amazon, so I thought I'd share it. So, this book is about Rhea and Lexos, who were born into a family unlike any other. Together with their siblings, they control the seasons, the tides, the stars, and help their father rule their kingdom. Thanks to their magic, their family has ruled for an eternity, and plan to rule for an eternity more. But Rhea and Lexos are special. They are twins, bonded down to the bone, and for the past 100 years, that bond has protected them as their father becomes an unpredictable tyrant, and his worsening temper threatens the family's grip on power. Now, with rival nations ready to attack a rebel movement within their own borders, Rhea and Lexos must fight to keep the kingdom and the family together, even as treachery, deceit, and drama threaten to strand the twins on opposite sides of the battlefield. In a Garden, Burning Gold is a vividly written, atmospheric saga that explores the limits of power and the bonds of family and how far they can be bent before they break. I love that last line there. I can appreciate a well-written line, and I feel like that was a well-written line. So again, another fantasy here. This sounds super cool. Takes place in a unique world, a fantastical world, which is totally my jam, obviously. So if this sounds like something that would be your jam, In a Garden Burning Gold will be available on April 5th. Not the most easiest title to say, but at least it's unique, right? My fourth pick for April is going to be something a little bit different, but trust me when I say this one's going to be cool, and that is A Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. So, this book is being described as Ocean 11 meets The Farewell. It's a lush lyrical heist novel inspired by the true story of Chinese art vanishing from Western museums. Yes, you heard me right. Chinese art disappearing from Western museums. History is told by the conquerors. Across the Western world, museums display the spoils of war, of conquest, of colonialism, priceless pieces of art looted from other countries, kept even now. Will Chen plans to steal them back. A senior at Harvard, Will fits comfortably in his carefully curated role. A perfect student, an art history major, sometimes artist, the eldest son who has always been his parents' American dream. But when a mysterious Chinese benefactor reaches out with an impossible and illegal job offer, Will finds himself something else as well. The leader of a heist to steal back 5 priceless Chinese sculptures looted from Beijing centuries ago. His crew is every heist archetype one could imagine, or at least the closest that he can get. A con artist, Irene Chen, a public policy major at Duke who can talk her way out of anything, a thief, Daniel Liang, a pre-med student with steady hands, just as capable of lockpicking as suturing, a getaway driver, Lily Wu, an engineering major who races cars in her free time, a hacker, Alex Huang, an MIT dropout turned Silicon Valley software engineer. Each member of his crew has their own complicated relationship with China and the identity they've cultivated as Chinese Americans. But when Will asks, none of them can turn him down. Because if they succeed, they earn $50 million and a chance to make history. But if they fail, it'll mean not just the loss of everything they've dreamed of for themselves, but yet another thwarted attempt to take back what colonialism has stolen. Equal parts beautiful, thoughtful, and thrilling, Portrait of a Thief is a cultural heist with an examination of Chinese American identity, as well as a necessary critique of the lingering effects of colonialism. If you cannot already see the movie in your head that will be based on this book, I mean, it writes itself, right? I mean, obviously, this is a super cool story. I definitely see it being turned into a movie at some point in time. If it hasn't been sold to a studio already, I'm sure it will be in the very near future. So I thought this sounded like a super cool story. If it sounds super cool to you, Portrait of a Thief will be available on April 5th. Number 5 is going to be a doozy, and that is going to be The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. This book sounds wild, okay? The Candy House opens with the staggeringly brilliant Bix Bouton, whose company, Mandala, is so successful that he is one of those tech demigods with whom we're all on a first name basis. Bix is 40, with 4 kids, restless, desperate for a new idea, when he stumbles into a conversation group, mostly Columbia professors, one of whom is experimenting with downloading or externalizing memory. It's 2010. With a decade, Bix's new technology, Own Your Unconscious, that allows you to access every memory you've ever had and to share every memory in exchange for access to the memories of others, has seduced multitudes, but not everyone. In spellbinding, interlocking narratives, Egan spins out the consequences of Own Your Unconscious through the lives of multiple characters whose paths intersect over several decades. Intellectually dazzling, The Candy House is also extraordinarily moving, a testament to the tenacity and transcendence of human longing for real connection, love, family, privacy, and redemption. In a world of Egan's spectacular imagination, there are counters who track and exploit desires, and there are eluders, those who understand the price of taking a bite of the candy house. Egan introduces these characters in an astonishing array of narrative styles, from omniscient to first-person plural to the duet of voices, an epistolary chapter, don't know what that means, and a chapter of tweets. The Candy House is a bold, brilliant imagining of a world that is moments away. Egan takes to stunning new heights her deeply intuitive forays into the darker aspects of our technology-driven, image-saturated culture. The Candy House delivers an absolutely extraordinary combination of fierce exhilarance, intelligence, and heart. There is a lot there, obviously. I feel like this is one of those books where it's either going to be like really, really awesome and a really cool commentary on like today's technology and internet and stuff like that, or it's going to be one of those like things that just kind of goes over everyone's head and is trying to be like super prestige. It's going to be one of those two things. It's either going to be eye rolling or it's going to be really cool. I hope it's going to be really cool. And if this sounds like it's going to be really cool to you, The Candy House will be available on April 5th. Yes, a lot of these books are all coming out in the beginning of the month. I don't know why. That's just how they happen to fall on the list. Book number 6 is going to be a vampire novel because I feel like I haven't read a good vampire novel in a while, and that's going to be Bella Morte by Bella Higgin. Bella Morte, one of the 5 houses where vampires reside as celebrities and humans are paid to be their living donors. While others come here seeking fortune, I came in search of my sister, who walked into Bella Morte 5 months ago and never walked back out. Now that I'm here, the secrets about this world have proven to be much bigger than I ever anticipated, and lurking around every corner are shocking insinuations of what happened to my sister. There's only one person who might have the answers I need, and the undeniable pull I feel towards him is terrifying. Edmond Dantes, a vampire and my mortal enemy. The harder I try to resist him, the farther I fall under his spell. And in one instant, my life is irrevocably changed. My past becomes prologue, and my fate becomes sealed behind these doors. Bella Morte has spoken, and it may never let me go. Dun dun dun. I mean, yes, part of it sounds like, some vampire stories we've heard before, but I'm willing to give it a chance because I feel like, again, we haven't had a good vampire story in a while, so I'm hopeful that this could be one. If this sounds like it might be a good story to you, Bella Morte will be available on April 5th. Book number 7, and this one should be no surprise to anyone, and that's going to be The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. John Gwynne is a super popular fantasy author. I am sad to say I have not read any of his books yet, but oh my god, I really, really, really want to. And this is the second book in his Bloodsworn trilogy, the first of which was The Shadow of the Gods, I believe. So this new one, The Hunger of the Gods, it is set in a Norse-inspired world and packed with myth, magic, and vengeance. This epic saga follows a band of warriors as they face the wrath of ancient gods and change the shape of the world. And I know I'm going to pronounce this name wrong. I'm sorry for people who have already read this series, but Lik Rifa, the dragon god of legend, has been freed from her eternal prison. Now she plots a new age of blood and conquest. As Orca continues to hunt for her missing son, the Bloodsworn sweep south in a desperate race to save one of their own, and Varg takes the first steps on a path of vengeance. Elvar has sworn to fulfill her blood oath and rescue a prisoner from the clutches of Lik Rifa and her dragonborn followers, but first, she must persuade the Battlegrim to follow her. Yet, even the might of the Bloodsworn and Battlegrim cannot stand alone against a dragon god. Their hope lies with the mad writings of another chained god, a book of forbidden magic, and the power to raise the wolf god, Ulfr, from the dead, and bring about a battle that will shake the foundations of Earth. I mean, giant dragon god, giant wolf god, they fight. Do you really need to know anything else about this book at this point? I don't think you do, or at least I don't. But I will say, just on a side note, even reading this description, I feel like I love the fact that this super awesome, powerful dragon god is female. I love that there's a lot of female characters talked about here. So super, super interested in all of John Gwynne's book, but specifically this one, The Hunger of the Gods. If you're interested in it as well, it'll be available on April 12th. My 8th pick for this month is something that I put on here specifically for one of my fellow booktuber friends, Mason in the Dark. Mason, get ready. My 8th pick for April is going to be The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. Yes, that's right. If you didn't know, Beth O'Leary coming out with a new book. And this one is about 3 women who seemingly have nothing in common, but find that they're involved with the same man. In this smart new rom-com by Beth O'Leary, best-selling author of The Flat Share. She also wrote another book as well, whose name is escaping me at the moment, but I'll put it up here. So yes, I've been told by Mason that her books are super cute. If you're ever looking for a review on any of her other books, go check out his channel. I will link it in the description box below because he has some great reviews from her previous books. But for this book, The No-Show, we have Siobhan is a quick-tempered life coach with way too much on her plate. Miranda is a tree surgeon used to being treated as just one of the guys on the job. Jane is a soft-spoken volunteer for the local charity shop with 0 sense of self-worth. These 3 women are strangers who have only one thing in common. They've all been stood up on the same day, the very worst day to be stood up on, Valentine's Day. And unbeknownst to them, they've all been stood up by the same man. Once they've forgiven him for not standing them up, they are all in serious danger of falling in love with a man who may not have just 1 or 2, but 3 women on the go. Is there more to him than meets the eye? Where was he on Valentine's Day? And will they each untangle the truth before they get their hearts broken? I don't know. I want to find out. If you want to find out, The No-Show will be available on April 12th. Book number 9 for April is going to be another fantasy type book, and that is Sophie and the Bone Song by Adrienne Tooley. Now, I have another book written by Adrienne Tooley called Sweet and Bitter Magic that I have not read yet. I've really been dying to read it. I'm gonna try to read it this year, probably later in the year. But until then, I am interested in Sophie and the Bone Song, which says, music runs in Sophie's blood. Her father is a music, one of only 5 musicians in a country licensed to compose and perform original songs. In the kingdom of Al, where winter is endless and magic is accessible to all, there are strict anti-magic laws ensuring that music remains the last untouched art. Sophie has spent her entire life training to inherit her father's title, but on the day of the auditions, she is presented with an unexpected competition in the form of Lara, a girl who has never before played the lute. Yet somehow, to Sophie's horror, Lara puts on the performance that thoroughly enchants the judges, almost like magic. The same day that Laura wins the title of music, Sophie's father dies, and a grieving Sophie sets out to prove Lara is using illegal magic in her performance. But the more time she spends with Lara, the more Sophie begins to doubt everything she knows about her family, her music, and the girl she thought was her enemy. As Sophie works to reclaim her rightful place as a music, she is forced to face the dark secrets of her past and the magic she was trained to avoid, all while trying not to fall for the girl who stole her future. So yes, obviously we've got some fantasy going on here, some romance going on here. I think this sounds just like a super cute story. There is a part of me that really loves things about music as well. I played a lot of music as a kid. I used to play piano, flute. I taught myself how to play my brother's clarinet and saxophone. Like, I've always had a very, musical upbringing. So I like the music angle of this story. If you think that angle sounds fun as well, Sophie and the Bone Song will be available on April 19th. Finally, that brings me to book number 10, which is going to be The Fervor by Alma Katsu. And this one sounds really, really cool. 1944. As World War II rages on, the threat has come to the home front. In a remote corner of Idaho, Miko Briggs and her daughter Aiko are desperate to return home. Following Miko's husband's enlistment as an Air Force pilot in the Pacific months prior, Miko and Aiko were taken from their home in Seattle and sent to one of the internment camps in the Midwest. It didn't matter that Aiko was American-born, they were Japanese, and therefore considered a threat by the American government. Mother and daughter attempt to hold on to the elements of their old life in the camp when a mysterious disease begins to spread among those interned. What starts as a minor cold quickly becomes spontaneous fits of violence and aggression, even death. And when a disconcerting team of doctors arrive, nearly more threatening than the illness itself, Miku and her daughter team up with a newspaper reporter, a widowed missionary, to investigate, and it becomes clear to them that something more sinister is afoot, a demon from the stories of Miko's childhood hell-bent on infiltrating their already strange world. Inspired by the Japanese yokai and some other word I can't pronounce, spider demon, The Fervor explores the horrors of the supernatural just beyond just the threat of the occult. With a keen and prescient eye, Katsu crafts a terrifying story about the dangers of demonization, a mysterious contagion, and the search to stop its spread before it's too late. A sharp account of too recent history, its deep excavation of how we decide who gets to be human when being human matters most. Again, another book on this list where there's a lot going on here, You can tell from the cover of this book that this book is going to be a killer. Yes, pun included there. But I just think this sounds like a super cool story. Again, just reading the description, I can already see in my mind how this book could be turned into a movie based on one location, like a camp where you have very close quarters, a mysterious illness. I mean, it's great. It's great. Sounds awesome. If you think it sounds awesome as well, The Fervor will be available on April 26th. that completes my list for book releases for next month. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comments section below which of these books would you most be interested in reading. Or if there's something else coming out that I didn't mention, let me know that as well. All right, everyone, thanks for watching and happy reading.